Good evening. I want to call this finance meeting to order. It is March 23rd, time 6 p.m. I'll begin with the roll call. Edwina Agee. Here. Alex Adams.
Here.
Richard Trojanski. Here. Thank you, members of council, Mayor Lansky, Chief Cumbersome. I saw the police chief here. Thank you for coming to tonight's meeting. Chief Vito and Student Service Director Linda Volpax. Tonight's meeting is to discuss the 2015 appropriations that we have before us. So I know council members wanted to have a meeting to address any lingering questions. So I want to have a constructive meeting. I don't want to have any finger pointing, any attacks. If you would like to wish to speak, please raise your hand and I will recognize you to speak. And with further ado, let's begin our meeting. I would like to turn over the meeting to the Finance Director, Irene Crowell, who has presented us with some materials here.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Actually, this should be very brief. All of the information, I passed out a revised, amended certificate to show the available balances. And I passed out also another set of the appropriations. All of this information we have discussed for the last 15 months for the most part. So the only thing I'd just like to highlight tonight is that there's a couple changes. And after meeting with the safety fire chief and the police chief, in order to add things that would be in compliance, there were a few changes, but that's to Fund 252, the ambulance billing, and that's different from last time. So other than that, this is really, the point of reference is the 2015 budget that we vetted very thoroughly last December. I think we had about 3 or 4 meetings, if I'm not mistaken, Council Clerk, to go over the budget. The budget that was prepared last year was basically a full-year budget, and all we did was to take a quarter of that to submit for the temporary budget. So we have thoroughly gone over these items. I had mentioned on our first meeting the changes that were different from that meeting, and there's really nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the members of council? Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have, I guess, quite a few things that I wanted to ask about. Ms. Crowell answered some of them via email to me today, and I appreciate that email. But then there are some other ones that I still wanted to, I guess, get some clarification on. I'm going to use the copy that you gave me last Wednesday only because I don't know if these are, the one you just gave me, any different from the ones that I was working off of. So forgive me if some of these are the same or different.
Are these the same? As I mentioned, Fund 252, the ambulance building, there were some items that were changed after meeting with the fire chief and police chief that we needed to include for compliance sake. So those two changed. And then I also gave you the summary, which will help you with that, the available balances, estimated resources. And this will project out the balances that's available and the appropriations for this year. And I guess, as I had mentioned in an email to you, Mr. Jackson, Councilman Jackson, probably because we talked about a lot of this so very much, maybe it's not remembered, but I think a lot of it's in the minutes that's been sent out. And for the most part, there was no changes. I discussed those changes, which was the dispatch center, because that's been back and forth, and of course the numbers changed for that from the original budget that we submitted. And then of course, as we speak with the the safety forces, there's always changes maybe depending on compliance issues and those kinds of things. The biggest change, which I like to go back and maybe to help you all that may have confused you, we had talked initially when I started that we would like to go back to itemizing the line items versus just dumping everything into others. And that was to enhance the internal fiscal management for the staff and for this body. It's not a requirement by the budget committee, and when it goes to downtown to the county budget committee, a commission, it will go in the same formats, other and personnel. But this was mainly, and I also have reiterated that we don't have apples to apples. 2014, and I had outlined in an email a lot of 2013 expenses that were paid in 2014, which sort of skewed the actual 2014 numbers. 2014 as a standalone was probably, okay. It was just because we had to add all those additional expenses that took us over and put us in the fiscal emergency status. But other than that, basically what we did, the finance team and myself, to the best of our ability without having a history, we took the other administrative and tried to spread it to the various line items. The other thing that was major is that the fringe benefits were all included. Well, there's some within the department, some fringe benefits were lumped together in one big number. And so, again, those are not going to be apples to apples. We cannot look at 2014 fringes to say that they're different. What we reported on these reports is what actually come off the financial statements. We did not change these to reflect, the way that they should have been. Because when we're audited, they take our actual finance statements that come from the SSI, and that's what we're audited against. So good, bad, and different. These are the numbers the way they show on the statement. So it took a while, the beginning of last year, to try to straighten all this out. I mean, I have a bill now in 2012. I mean, they just keep rolling in, but I think we're at the end of that. So I know this may be puzzling to some of you, but there's no direct correlation between the 2014 actuals and the 2015 appropriations, which we did a lot of analysis, spoke with department heads to try to come up with that as our best educated guess. So other than that, otherwise I can just roll it all back up into others, and then you compare others to others and be done with it. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chuck's here. Me for one, I appreciate them being broken out and not all lumped in the others, because it helps a lot explain what it actually is, what those items are, versus just having them listed in the others. So I appreciate that. On the estimated resources,
Okay.
on page 1, senior transfer, and again, here we go from 14 and 15, but this is my question that might be very easily answered and quick. Senior transportation, it shows an increase of $14,000. Now, is that because the 14 has some of 13 in it?
Go ahead.
Thank you. To the chair, those are the resources. Those reflect the increase, I believe, in the Division of Senior and Adult Services grant money to us.
Okay.
Mayor Lansky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, all of these things have already been gone over. If we're going to sit here and ask questions that we already know the answers to, we're just wasting our time. Do we have any new questions? Because this grant has been talked about 4 times already. So if people aren't listening, or if they're not reading their minutes, or reading their memos. This isn't preschool or school. You know, let's get on to something new. I don't want to sit here all night and beat a dead horse. We've already done that once because 252 was said as in the same document. It's the only change is the document I handed out earlier, and then right off the bat we get a question, is it the same? Can we move on to anything new?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Let me say this. If this has been repeated, sorry. If I got a question, I'm going to ask it, and I'm not going to sit here and be insulted from somebody because they don't like if I ask a question. Now, we can sit here, or we cannot, or if nobody else has any questions, it'll be a real short meeting. So I'm going to defer unless somebody else asks a question. And then I'll come back to some of the ones that I have.
Are there any other questions from anyone on this body? Anything? Mr. Adams.
Irene, I appreciated all the emails that was sent you and asking you things, you know, since we started this. And I appreciate all your answers because I don't have no questions. Thank you for keeping up on your email.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Brownlee.
I had a few considerations handed out to everyone on council, covering various things. Some were some legal issues, others were needs in the city, others were possible savings measures, quite a few different things.
Excuse me, may I have a copy for the minutes, please?
Yes, I have a couple here.
Was I not privy to a copy?
As long as no one else comes, you may have this one.
Well, it's okay, I'll just listen.
So, first I'd like to start here at the top with the legal issues. There was the official certificate of estimated resources and legal level of control, both which have come up already tonight. These are two considerations that, per the ORC, we're required to pay attention to. First, the official certificate of estimated resources is approved by the County Budget Commission by the documents that we provide them, estimating what our revenue will be for the year. What we have before us here, what Ms. Crowell gave us tonight and on other occasions, is not the actual official certificate of estimated resources. This is a document that she has prepared herself, which did not come from the county. The county sent us the official certificate of estimated resources in January. And this official document, not the one that Ms. Crowell has provided us, but this official document that was prepared on January 12th, states that this city only has $9 million available in all funds. I don't frankly know why it says that, but that's what it says. This is the legally binding document for this body. It says that in the general fund there is only, I don't know why it says this because these are they made it off the documents that were provided by the finance director, but it says there's only $2.4 million available in the general fund. That doesn't seem to make very much sense. But nonetheless, this is the legally binding document that this body is bound by when preparing our appropriations. The ORC says in multiple places that we cannot over-appropriate at the fund level. Not just the overall level, but at the fund level, beyond what this document provides. Now, what the city needs to do to be in compliance with the ORC is to submit a request to amend this official document. If we believe there's more revenue coming in, we are required by statute to request those numbers be increased and provide documentation proving that those are the correct numbers. Then this body can appropriate those amounts of money. As it stands right now, according to our official certificate of estimated resources, we can only appropriate $9 million, which of course, you can all see quickly that presents a problem. Secondly, under legal issues, is the legal level of control. The finance director is correct in letting us know that per statute, all that's required is that in each fund, in each department, in each fund, we provide a line item that says personnel for wages, benefits, and etc. And then a second line item which says other. That's all that's required by statute. However, every city council, every legislative body can decide to operate with a separate level of control, with an additional, more stringent level of control. This body could go down to the line item, individual line items if they wanted to. At some point it gets cumbersome to do so. Why this is important to consider is that the document we've been given, this budget we've been given, is at the line item level. You know, we can see each department has multiple different breakouts of what the costs are going to be for, what the appropriations are going to be for. However, as the finance director has explained to us, whenever this is submitted for review, it's not going to look like this. She's telling us that all she's going to provide is for each fund, or if the fund has multiple departments, all she's going to provide is just one lump for personnel costs and one lump for other administrative. So it's not going to be broken out this much for medical, this much for parts, this much for professional services. I would encourage the body to consider this, that we increase the legal level of control, because if we look at this and we say, okay, $20,000, whatever it is for professional services, that sounds good to me, then we should expect $20,000 to be spent on that line item that we looked at. Not switched around however someone might feel later on. I believe that this body, in light of the circumstances surrounding our finances, that we consider increasing the legal level of control from the statutory minimum to the line item, more or less this document right here. So if it says $7,500 for postage, that $7,500 can only be spent for postage. It can't be spent for special events or contingency or bank fees or anything else. I would suggest that we do that, that we consider increasing the legal level of control. So those are the two legal issues that I had for consideration tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Brownlee. Ms. Crowell?
You know, I've been here about 15 months, and meeting after meeting, I have sat, especially last week when there was a mockery and dramatization by Brownlee of our whole process and our intent and concern about the city's finances. He purports to be a finance director. He purports to know more than I know in my experience and training. And it sounds good, but everything he said is not true. Let me give you an example, and I answered his question. You can smile, but I listened to you, and you're going to listen to me tonight. And people need to know just how much you do know or don't know. For example, Mr. Brownlee sent me an email asking for the certificate of estimated resource. And for your information, he also sent one asking to go back to 2007. That's like 8 years. For what? Those years have been audited, they're passed, and there's no need to waste the staff time. We're working understaffed in the finance department. As you look at your prior years, you've been around, you can see that we're about 2 or 3 staff down. But we're not complaining because we're doing the best we can, but we cannot sit there all day and answer public requests. Now let me give you an example. This document, as he waves stuff around every meeting for the certificate of estimated resources, I explained to him that that was for the temporary budget. Each time we do a budget, we send this document. And that was sent with the temporary budget. Anybody with common sense would know that that is not a full year's budget, $9,000 or whatever he's saying on that document. I send the information. The Budget Commission, it doesn't come from them to us. I send it to them, they approve it, and they send it back. But it sounds like they give us the information. They're only giving me back approved what I sent to them with the temporary budget, which I explained to him. This document I passed out tonight, it will accompany the 4 years budget. And that's why the numbers are different. They're different because of that reason. So to sit here and assume and make comments about our not being in compliance is truly false. And I think it's time that this council stop this kind of nonsense because it confuses the residents. It's not true. I mean, last week was just a disgrace and an insult to all of my colleagues and to the mayor and to you and the city in our trying to get this right. But to sit there and make all of these false statements and people walk out of here confused. So what he's saying is not true. Secondly, in terms of the level of control, the county administrator, the budget commission, yes, they allow you. But I would ask Mr. Brownlee to bring us a submission that shows 15 pages. At the most I have seen will be maybe 5 different line items. Some maybe do other than others. Some may say capital. But to sit here and say that we need to send all of these. Also, in all of his training and education, he should know that we have, without permission from the budget commission, to move line items. You can move them within 10%. So if we have $7,500 for postage without further approval, I can move that 10%. So to sit here to say that we have to be held to every number, this is an estimate. Tomorrow, who knows? Someone may come in and say, we need to run off 1 million copies or whatever. And the postage would change. And that's why you're here. That's why they say amended budgets. They have built into the process at the county commission to allow for amended budgets. They do not say, once you send this, you're held to it or you have to stick with that all year. So to put out questions like that, and it also ties our hands and puts you in situations such as fiscal emergency. When we send a budget down and we're not ever allowed to amend it, of course we would not. There's no line item on this budget that would be spent to the penny as we submit it. Not a one. I can tell you that right now. So if he sit there and say we do not have that you would not authorize our change of this, that's not by the county, that's just by his saying, then of course you're going to end up in fiscal emergency because that's what it's all about, overspending. So, you know, we need to stop this, and I resent it. I do resent it, Mr. Brownlee, you know, to make a mockery of my work and my position. I mean, you want to do that, then you send it to me, but to get into public meetings, and I give you more respect. But tonight, I'm not going to tolerate it. I've answered all these questions. All this stuff that you have or whatever training is not relevant to what we're doing here tonight, and I'm not going to listen to it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Before I move forward, does the council understand why we're here? We are here to ask questions about the appropriations and to come as a body on Wednesday and approve a budget. We've been going over the same appropriations that were appropriated in December. We've asked members of council if you have questions to email the finance director, to call her, and everyone wanted the budget meeting, and so here we have a budget meeting. So I asked everyone here, do you have any lingering new questions to ask those questions? But we are not here to go over the same thing over and over again. The people have elected us to be running the city, and here we're making a mockery of the government that we're supposed to be a part of leading. So if you have any new questions, please come forward with new questions and also respect one another. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask of the finance director?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say again, and thank you for straightening that up, Irene. And you are right. You cannot question something that one person says, this is fact, in the legal, when most of us know very little. And we depend on you and our knowledge between us. I, for one, know that these figures can be changed because, like I said before, Mr. Brownlee does not have a crystal ball, neither do you. We just don't know what's going to be spent, where it's going to be spent, what we're going to need it for. So we have to learn to adjust, and you explained it very well. And I thank you again for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions from the council?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Brownlee.
Just so you know, what we were told is incorrect. Where you can find the information is right here. Go look it up for yourself. You don't have to believe me or anyone else here. You can go read it for yourself. Regarding some of the other considerations, needs that are in the city, I've heard time and again from every department just about that there are very serious equipment needs now or in the future. We saw it this winter with snow plows breaking down. We saw it right now. The service department is looking to service one of their, I think it's their vacuum truck, in order to be able to do clean outs of catch basins. So a lot of this equipment and others are aging, and I would like to know what the plan is to address this aging equipment as part of our budget.
We do not have a capital budget in place. I have spoken to vendors, I've spoken to the chief that in terms of the repairs, sometimes it's more feasible to use repair money from leases and get new equipment, and we're looking into that, Mr. Brownlee. So versus paying hundreds of thousands in repairs, we could very well use that money for new leases and equipment. I mean, today, for example, just to give you an example, I met with the people that service our copiers, our printers. We were paying like $1,100 a month. After negotiated, now we're paying about $300 a month. That's $800 a month that I negotiated just today to save on our copiers. And we're doing that, the staff and I, and even the chiefs and directors, they're talking with vendors, trying to get prices. So it's not always in terms of raising revenue. Sometimes we have to be more efficient in what we do. And if you allow us to do our job, I mean, you really cannot sit there and audit everything we do, or we have to explain all of our work. You know, we're hired to do a job, a professional job, and we're doing that. I do not come back to this body and say, oh, today I went out and spent $1 less. I mean, your thing is that when I give you numbers, your understanding is that there's as prudent as they can be, and we plan to stay within the budget. So, you know, to sit here and just go through every little line item, there is no capital budget. So we have to find other ways to generate monies to acquire new equipment and vehicles and what have you.
Thank you.
So follow up then.
Mr. Brownlee, you have to be recognized for the chair.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow up.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, a follow-up question. So are we to understand that there's nothing in this budget that is addressing the aging equipment in the police department, the fire department, the ambulances, the trucks in the service department? There's nothing specifically in this budget that's addressing those problems.
I've said there is no capital budget. This is an operating budget. And hopefully we can divert the expenses from vehicle repairs to leases. That's our plan. There's no capital budget. This is all operating.